Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ad Hoc Committee on Economic Recovery and Reinvestment of the Los Angeles City Council. Today is a special meeting for Friday, December 17th, 2010. I'm here with Councilmember Bernard Parks, and we are awaiting a quorum, so we're still awaiting Mr. Alico, Mr. Rosendahl, and Mr. Wesson. But let us begin, and let's start with number one. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Councilman Parks. My name is Rushmore Cervantes, and I've been asked by the Mayor's office to assist in overseeing a small team to provide additional layer of oversight over the $630 million in grants, working closely.
Are you working on commission or for a salary? Are you working on commission?
I wish.
Okay.
In any event, the mission of this group, working with the CAO's office, along with Jim Clark, who you know well, and Greg Spots within the Mayor's Performance Management Unit, is to provide a level of effort to push projects along where it's needed most. The CAO's office has done a great job in tracking the information, but what we see the critical piece that's missing is really helping departments facilitate the movement of this expenditure of the monies.
Great.
So what we're going to be doing, working with the departments to have them clearly define milestones for both their expenditures and the deliverable of services. Not only what's required from the grants, but also internal milestones that we need to achieve so that we can ensure that we're going to hit our target on both areas. I think what we're going to find, certainly with the result of analyzing the deliverables, we may want to modify our deliverables at some point, because what we know now versus what we knew initially when we submitted our proposals, we may need to modify it, and it's better to know that now and have realistic expectations from these grants rather than learning 3 years later. So what we're going to come forward with in the future are templates that will basically reflect what the department heads have agreed to is what their goals are going to be for expenditures, and each month track against those along with the deliverables. And I think that'll really provide a valuable tool at a 30,000-foot level to be able to notify the departments is where the deficiencies are, and that's where this unit will come and help and try to figure out where the problems are, and certainly work with the CAO's office to, as a team, to try to push the agendas along. And I understand this committee also wants to start meeting every other week, and I think that's great. I think that what the reports we're going to be able to provide this committee will be valuable, because then, rather than just bringing departments up blindly, we'll be able to provide information to you so you know exactly where they are at any given time. Yep. In the course of their grants, so that if they're 50% along and they're at 40%, well, at least we know there's a problem that needs to be zeroed in on. So we commit to this committee to share the information that we have, and if there's additional information you think that would be important, once you've seen what we've asked of the departments, we'd be very happy to include that so that we have one comprehensive viewpoint, a snapshot that everyone has agreed to, and we're not having departments providing multiple reports of different agencies. We'd like to make it concentrated so they're working as one team together to be able to spend the $630 million that we have.
Great, and that definitely is our intention in the new year, to start going through those each, department at a time and each program at a time. The monthly goals for each department, can you walk us through a couple things. Can you walk us through how many people are working with you, and what sort of timeline have you asked from departments for putting together their plans for what their monthly goals are? And secondly, whether or not they need to modify what their deliverables are going to be. What's the process for that as well?
Well, I think what's going to happen, first of all, we've got, as I mentioned, Greg and Jim, and we've also got Barbara Frieden that's going to be joining us at the first of the year, and then we're going to be working with the CAO's office. So it's a very small team. A letter has already gone out to the department heads to indicate this new team has been formed, and we're going to be reaching out to them, start scheduling appointments before the end of the year and into the new year. So the timeline would probably be next 30 to 45 days as we sit down with each one of the departments and go over the timelines and deliver them as quickly as possible thereafter. I think there's going to be some level of negotiations going back and forth as to what the expectations are, but I think that we need to be aggressive and certainly give ourselves some latitude. As an example, if we've got timeline ends, the term of the contract ends June 30th, we want to set the bar at, say, March 31st to give ourselves a window.
In terms of deliverables, is that part of the letter that went out, that if you're a general manager and you feel like some of the goals that you initially set as part of the grants need to be modified?
I think that's something we'd have to that would have to be brought forward to this committee and council as well. I don't know that...
But has that been communicated yet to general managers, or are you just saying that's part of the plan?
I think that's part of... I think that's the net result of what's going to come out of this. I'm not suggesting that we ask the general managers to reduce or to increase. We want to know, based on what you know now, are these goals... are they realistic or not? And if they are, let's set our priorities straight so that we can achieve our goals as was initially proposed in our grant application.
Okay. We'd love to work with you and the CAO on some sort of template for coming forward to committee so that we can, something that the public can easily digest, that the council members can assess to, but some sort of thing ahead of time that we can have where we look at, what the initial ask was, what the grant that was given, what the program was initially, what the expected timeline was. Now, any new information of modified timeline, modified, goals, et cetera, so we can just have that ahead of time. We can see when everybody can meet, but since we start at 9, because we'll have about an hour with each one of these, we want to make them kind of starting with all the information already there, and so we can dig into the questions rather than beginning with all the information and then wanting them to come back. So we can probably develop that over the break, but we'd love to identify with you a couple of the first two departments for the beginning of the year that we can do that with and have them in and make it a productive session for the council members.
Absolutely. We'll certainly work with you on that to identify the priorities and which present the biggest risks to the city and zero in those in concentrated effort.
Great. Super. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it at this point.
All right. Report from
Tyler Munhall with the CAO. Council members, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm taking the lead of the CAO team over from Anna May Uten. I can't replace her, but I will follow her. And just to reflect what Rushmore told you, we're working very closely with the mayor's office. Our team the rest of our team is remaining in place, so that institutional knowledge will remain, and we're looking forward to working with you also on this project.
Great. Thank you for the reintroduction.
Stacy Sosa, CAO. I will just be providing a brief overview today since our agenda is rather lengthy. The only two changes to the dashboards that I'd like to highlight are the recent denials for 2 applications, one submitted by CDD and one submitted by HACLA for BTOP funding during round 2. Both applications were denied, and the reason cited by the Department of Commerce was that both applications did not successfully demonstrate that it would generate a sufficient number of new subscribers and other regular users. Also, we have new information regarding job creation for the months of September and October. During the month of September, over 3,700 full-time equivalent jobs were created or retained with Recovery Act funds. This consists of approximately 1,800 FTEs in the private sector and almost 1,900 FTEs in the city and public sectors. This also represents a decrease of about 1,500 jobs from August to September. And the primary reasons that we're seeing these significant decrease is due to the TANF Youth Summer Jobs Program coming to an end. It came to an end in September. And then also CSBGR ended in September, so we saw a decrease in those activities as those projects were winding down. For October, just over 500 full-time equivalent jobs were created or retained with Recovery Act funds. This consists of just over 200 FTEs in the private sector and close to 300 FTEs in the city and public sectors. This also represents a decrease of about 3,200 FTEs from September to October. And again, the primary reasons that we saw the decrease was because all of the TANF jobs went away in October, and the same for CSBGR, and that's responsible for that decrease. Cumulative expenditures and reimbursements through October 31st. Cumulative expenditures through October 31st have increased by just over $35 million to $180.79 million, and total reimbursements through October have increased by $40.55 million to $120.4 million. So through the end of October, the city has spent close to 29% of its Recovery Act funds. And that concludes my presentation for today.
Thank you. We do have a very extensive agenda, so we'll jump into that. And colleagues, we have a lot to get through today. Appreciate also the status. If you could also nudge DWP I think, a report back that I asked, and it says when it becomes available, which is kind of a passive voice. That's a...
I believe DWP anticipates coming forth in January.
Okay. That's probably one of the first ones we're going to want to dig in, because it's probably a lot of the money, and it's from April, I think that request was.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, just one question. We've been at this now for a good solid year, and we're looking at the end of the year right now. So we've requested $1,717,063,840. Is that right?
Correct.
That's the total package.
That's what we have so
Do
far.
we see us requesting more in the next year?
I don't think so. I think much of the opportunities and programs have been awarded on a national level, so the funding available that hasn't been obligated is, I think, less than 5%.
Okay. I saw Jim Clark moving his head on that one. So let me ask you this. Awarded was $630 million.
Correct.
And what does your gut tell you about how much more we're going to get awarded?
Not very much. As you can see, currently pending, we only have one application in the amount of $210,000. It's very small. And in the last 6 months, we really haven't had very many new applications going forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We can go to item number 2, please. Thank you. Ask the Community Development Department. Come on down.
Earl Taylor from the CEO's office. The report before you requests approval for CDD to accept $900,000 in Workforce Investment Act ARA funds from the U.S. Department of Labor for the State Energy Sector Partnership grant and activities. CDD requests approval to execute agreements with 2 of the workforce centers, and we recommend approval for CDD to do so. CDD also requests approval to set aside funds for evaluation for a green sector evaluator. Jaime from the CDD is available to provide additional information on the grant and activities.
Okay. Great. Anything you'd like to add from CDD, or?
Jaime Pacheco Orozco, Community Development Department.
Can you move the microphone a little closer so we can hear you better? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Jaime Pacheco Orozco, Community Development Department.
Great. Thank you. Are there questions? I'm familiar with this WIA grant. I know that the job that MCS doing the housing authority is Jordan Downs. Anybody have questions on this? If not, I'll move the recommendations in the CAO report.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right. Seeing no questions, thank you. The majority of the committee, Mr. Rosendahl and Mr. Alarcon, are here, so we'll go ahead and let's go to the next one, which is item 4.
Okay.
Also CDD.
Okay. Which one is this?
OJT, Energy OJT.
Okay, this is the request to accept the award from the National Emergency Grant. This grant amount is for $725,462. The grant period is from July 2010 to June 2012. And in this case, CDD requests approval to execute contracts with 2 operators, Managed Carrier Solutions and the Hollywood Workforce for the Hollywood Workforce Center, and also with the Housing Authority for the Workforce Portal in Jordan Downs. This grant amount would be split between the contractors and also to fund a new authority. We recommend CDD approval for CDD to add 1 project coordinator position to manage the grant.
Any questions about this reprogramming, folks? Both the previous one and this one obviously go to the heart of some job training and job opportunities for those in the public who are following this along. And I know there's some reprogramming from a couple other projects that didn't pan out, including 2 in my own district, which we've reprogrammed into other folks' districts and to things that we can move right away. I'll move approval of this. And without objection, we'll go ahead and approve that. Thank you.
We also number 4.
Oh, sorry, that was 3. You're at number 4.
Yes. This is a request from CDD to reprogram Community Development Block Grant ARA funds. They request approval to make some technical corrections to previous council action, and they also request approval to execute a grant with TOP for truck driver training. We need to make an amendment to our recommendation number 4 in this report to increase the amount to $200,000 and also to allow CDD to allocate the contract amount between 2 sites, one in Jordan Downs and one in San Fernando Valley.
I think I was one item ahead of you, so in my mind I was moving this item already, but I'll move this one as well.
Okay.
Any questions from folks about the reprogramming? Okay, if not, 2, 3, and 4 are deemed approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Go to item 5, please. The CRA, come on down. Just remind folks who may be listening for the first time what the Commercial Retrofit Municipal Financing District Program is, and then tell us what the action is before us.
Sure.
Okay.
Is this on?
Yes.
Hi, Sharon G. From CRA. The Commercial Retrofit Municipal Financing District Program is something that the CRA is undertaking in partnership with the Clean Climate Initiative. The whole point of the program is to try to catalyze energy efficiency retrofits for non-residential commercial buildings for the city of Los Angeles. The program is being funded with a combination of about approximately $2.7 million in ECBG funds, in addition to approximately 4.5 up to 5.4 million in state energy program funds from the California Energy Commission. The program intends to roll out 3 main components. The first is no-cost energy audits to interstate commercial building owners. And
So
then
what is
there's
that? For somebody listening, if you own a building or your business, what is an energy audit? What is that?
basically, consultants are brought in to scope the building for potential measures that could be undertaken to reduce energy usage and improve the energy efficiency and hopefully create operating cost savings for the building.
Okay.
Secondly, the intent is to also help introduce project owners to sources of financing and capital to initiate those retrofits. The third component is to create a loan loss reserve to help entice lenders and make them more comfortable in lending funds to these retrofits. The item here today is regarding contract authorization to receive state energy program funds from the California Energy Commission. We are requesting that the council receive and file the prior transmittal from the CRA board dated October 7th. And in addition, we're also requesting that the council approve a joint resolution and also provide authorization to negotiate and execute all contracts regarding the SCP grant, as well as a budget-related action.
Okay. And for the average business out there interested in participating in this, what sort of timeline and outreach and how would they get in contact with the city? And these actions are fine today, but this is always a good opportunity to kind of explain to folks and to get that word out there. What should they do and who should they be contacting?
We're very excited. We're trying to move as quickly as possible. We hope to anticipate the launch of the program. We anticipate launching the program in about spring of next year. That was when we'll start accepting expressions of interest and applications from building owners for the no-cost energy audits. Dave Hodgins from the Clean Climate Initiative has already met with BOMA, USGBC, several other organizations that are nonprofits. We plan to reach out to even more to ensure that there's going to be high level of participation throughout the city and for all building types. We are looking at not only large office buildings, or actually small, medium, large office buildings, but also industrial and commercial, and perhaps institutional buildings as well. So we're trying to, we anticipate that in March is when the energy audits will begin, and in September, that's when we will begin accepting tax lien financing applications.
So, and it's great that you're reaching out to BOMA, which is the big building owners and others, but if we have chambers of commerce or others who are interested, other folks gearing up for presentations that we can invite into our districts and to speak to business groups and things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
We're also going to be reaching out to LA Business Council and chambers of commerce. We may also look into the bids as well.
Okay. So if we have folks, should we get them to you?
Yes, to Sharon G. at CRA, and we will be issuing an RFP for the program administrator to come on board either today or Monday.
Okay.
So we hope to also reach out to the community for that as well.
Great. So if you're interested in helping oversee that, pay attention to the CRA website, I imagine? That's where
Yes.
you'll be posting it? Okay.
Yes.
Great. Any other questions?
Yeah, just
Mr.
taking
Rosenbaum.
that point that Mr. Garcetti mentioned, in my district, especially in Mar Vista, they've taken a big interest in this energy. Can we get a link to that group so that they can look at their own opportunities? Is that link going to be friendly? I just want to give the citizens an opportunity to participate.
Part of the program administrator RFP is to bring on the consultant who will create the marketing materials and create the website. So I anticipate that the CRA website as well as the city's website will provide links directly to that web portal that will provide a lot of the information about energy efficiency measures, rebates to LADWP and SoCal Gas, as well as information about the tax lien financing and more information about this particular program as well.
Good. I'd like you to also contact directly a guy by the name of Jay Handel, who's a regional guy for neighborhood councils, where they're looking at financial savings of various kinds, and then he will get it out to the coalition of neighborhood councils as well.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Marks?
Let me ask you, just to clarify, is the money relegated only to CRA areas?
No, we are undertaking this program on behalf of the City of LA, and this program will be deployed for the entire city.
Okay. Does it have any connection with the recently announced, $1.3 million of grants to educate the public about energy and energy savings?
Yes, it does. The U.S. Green Building Council, some organizations in the Valley are already submitting applications for that grant.
So that's where nonprofits are
Yes.
part of educating the public about...
The outreach grants, yes.
Okay. So now, how is it connected with people being able to become aware of, our commercial building owners to become aware of now this funding?
The U.S. Green Building Council has taken a keen interest in this. They have very active LA chapters, and so they're going to be working with us to host webinars, workshops, other direct community outreach events. I mentioned there's a group in the Valley also specifically targeting that market and has deep relationships into that community, so we want to be working closely with them. And we have been all along, so they're very well aware that this program is coming, and really the goal is to parallel track the outreach with the onboarding of the program managers so that when the program does go live, that it's been pre-subscribed to a large extent and through targeted outreach across council districts, property types, et cetera, so that we can immediately get into the audits when all the pieces are in place.
Okay. And then also, with the number of commercial business, are these grants or loans?
The audits will be fully funded grants, no repayment obligation by the owner. There will be no loans made directly using city funds or grant funds. The goal of the program is to catalyze the private markets to bring capital to these projects, and so that's part of the core offering will be PACE financing as well as introductions to other financing mechanisms and using the grant funds to generate the projects that would be funded with the private capital by paying for the audits and the engineering studies. and packaging that all into a report that a building owner can take and use as a decision-making tool to make that investment.
So when it's all done, the audits, we're going out in outreach, then the audits come about. Now, the business owner's financial obligation is once the audit's done, can they afford to do it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is there any relief there? Is there any assistance that they can get as they try to finance or whatever they need to implement the audit?
Yes, that's another role that the program manager is going to play, and that's one of the skill sets that's really called out in the RFP. And we'll also be issuing a request for interest from financial institutions that are interested in investing in this space. There are quite a number. There's a lot of capital looking for a way into this asset class. So the program manager will be connecting projects with potential financing options as part of their mandate. Through the fee structure, the auditors and the program managers will be incentivized to help convert projects from audit into actual implemented projects that are saving energy. So that'll be a portion of their compensation.
The last question I have is that I just want to get an idea on the actual owner of the building. When we say that there's a lot of capital, people have an interest, they have an interest in investing and getting the work done, but the building owner still has to have the wherewithal to pay that back. It's not, when we say there's cash available, they're looking to basically fund a project that the building owner has to pay for.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. If not, thank you. We'll move this forward. Number 6, please. I think I learned a new word today. You ever heard of drayage?
Yeah, I didn't. I couldn't find it in the dictionary.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members, everyone present. My name is Arnell Aguilar for the Bureau of Sanitation. I'm also here with Melinda Bartlett and Wayne King, and also with Mara of the CAO. Before you is a CAO report and a Board of Public Works report to receive an ARA-funded grant from the AQMD in the amount of $37,500. Board report is requesting authority for the Bureau of Sanitation to receive this grant and to negotiate and execute grant documents. CAO report provides additional controller instructions for accounting purposes of ARA funds received to be deposited into the Environmental Trust Fund. We would like the CAO recommendations in this report and this board report to be adopted by the City Council. As background, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
As background, the Bureau became responsible for Clean Cities Coalition activities on June 16, 2010, when the Mayor and City Council approved the transfer of some of Environmental Affairs Division, our department functions, funds, and staff to the Bureau. The AQMD was the recipient of $9.4 million from the American Recovery and Investment Act funds for the heavy-duty natural gas drayage truck replacement initiative. The city is receiving this as a formula grant as coordinator of the Los Angeles Clean Cities Coalition. For the city, the total cost of this project is to conduct outreach to drayage truck drivers to replace their existing polluting trucks to cleaner burning vehicles. There's no match requirement for the grant, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I fear if we talk, between the 4 of you there and the 4 of us here, if we talk about this for more than about 1 minute, it's going to cost us more than $37,500. So we should probably move it relatively quickly, but I want to thank you for exposing me to a new word, drayage truck, and a great definition in here. Learned something. Mr. Parks and I were just discussing that. Just one quick question. With AQMD getting $9.4 million and with the trucks in the port that go in and out of the port being such a huge piece of our region's pollution, any idea why we have such a small bit of that grant, or are there other pieces of it that we will benefit from?
Hi, Melinda Bartlett with Bureau of Sanitation. The bulk of the funds is actually to pay for the grants to the truck drivers. Our $37,500 is actually to do outreach to those drivers and teach them and help them fill out the forms to receive the grants to purchase the trucks.
And are we going to track and quantify then how many of those drivers that do interact with the port are getting those grants?
We are.
Okay, great. We'd love to know that down the line, because so much of what we're trying to track is, not just our direct stuff, but our indirect stuff from the stimulus funding to show the impact on, regular small business owners like truck drivers and others as well. So
Great.
We'll look forward to hearing that. And unless anybody else has $12,000 more questions, I'll go ahead and move this. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 7, please. This picture the mayor on the rockets.
Good morning, Rhonda Gaston with the Community Development Department, and we are before you this morning to give the department's 6th monthly report on the EECBG grant award since the administration had been transitioned to the department. In the written report that we have provided, we provide project status on all of the 15 projects that are funded under this particular award. But what we really want to have conversation with you about today is changes that the CDD is proposing in terms of the apportionment of funds within the municipal building retrofit project. Currently, there is $13.8 million allocated for that project, of which the council has previously approved $2.8 million to go for GSD salaries over the term of the grant. It was initially anticipated that we would expend about $9 million for the Qualified Energy Conservation Bond, QECB, to pay the debt service so that we could leverage monies coming in from the state. We, however, have had some concerns articulated by DOE in terms of the city's expenditure rate, so of the entire grant amount. So to allow for immediate expenditure, we are proposing to now allocate part of the monies that would have previously been allocated for QECB to go direct to GSD so that they can begin retrofit on some of the city buildings that had been previously approved by the council. I believe there was a list of 130 facilities. As the total universe, GSD with about $2.67 million can actually begin immediately begin work on, I believe it's 15 of those buildings, and GSD is here to talk to you about that work. What will actually happen thereafter, once we apportion those funds, we would have a balance of funding available, about $4.7 million that would go for the debt service on the QECB. We are also proposing that we fund use an additional $1.5 million out of the grant to further fund the salaries of the 40 vocational workers that had been previously scheduled for layoff of GSD. We would fund those positions for a total of 24 months, full cost, salaries and indirect out of the grant, with some subsidizing coming from WIA funding. But the big issue is making sure that we actually begin to do immediate work on the streets, expend the funds, generate some jobs so that we can show some outputs directly to DOD right now. So GSD will talk about the buildings that they're going to work on.
The Department of General Service, Tony Worcester, General Manager, we've identified 15 facilities that we are prepared to begin the retro work for within the city, and the particular timeline to complete that work would be approximately about 100 days to get the work completed. So we're ready to start as soon as the money is allocated to our accounts within our department.
Good. And I see some friends from Agenda here and others who have been part of the coalition on green jobs around municipal retrofits, and the City Vocational Worker Retrofit Training Program. That's primarily focused on our existing workers. Are we doing any outreach towards community workers as well? Is that a part of the program, or?
I think in essence, when it comes to the 40 particular individuals, they are as GST employees at this point, the ones that General Services is currently involved in right now.
I think maybe with the earlier grants, when we're looking at the CRA's program for some of the private buildings as well, it's going to be critical to look at expanding those skills of green retrofitting to workers that are out of work or potential workers who have never been in this area before. But I know as we looked at doing municipal buildings as well down the line, working with some of our trade unions as well to do that sort of training where we might not have specialized knowledge. Those folks could come into the city. They could also, they're quite in demand in the private sector as well, but we want to make sure we get local folks trained up for that too.
And CDD also administers separately under WHEEL. We have about $2.5 million in green retrofit workforce dollars where we're actually doing the training of other folks.
Great. Super. I think Mr. Rosendahl, question?
Yes, I'd like to talk about Lincoln Place. Does anybody have an update on how we're doing with the audit there? It's one of the items.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Look, Lincoln Place, if you look on your charts, you'll see that's an item that's one of the 15 I'd like to see dealt with. And I know that we talked about it at the last meeting, but I haven't gotten an update from you on that. We want to see that it gets into competitive. We're on item 7, right?
Yeah, I think we will.
If you look at that business there, you'll see internally there it says multifamily affordable residential, and in that category, Lincoln Place is listed. Any update on that?
We know that the Housing Department has been before Council after conducting an RFP and receiving 20 responses, choosing about 15 projects to fund.
Right.
And they will be, Housing will be returning to this committee and Council in January because they performed further audits to be certain that the projects would qualify. So there would be another opportunity to discuss that project and the other.
Okay. Well, between now and then, they'd be able to give us a better insight into what they've been doing on it.
Okay.
Because the year 2010 is now over, and Lincoln Place is still sitting there, and the residents are not back in. The modernization has not taken place, and one of the strategies was to get it into the energy retrofit efficiency so it could be able to get some funding to go forward with it. So in the meeting in January, I'd like a detailed report on where we are with Lincoln Place.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on this one? If not, we'll go ahead and move the report forward. Thank you very much. Appreciate good work, and that will close this meeting of the ad hoc committee. I think that's the last item. Yeah? We met 7 items and we knocked it out. Get a 10-minute break if you're waiting here for council. Thank you to everybody. We'll begin city council meeting in 10 minutes. Thank you. Start 10 minutes late. Begin 10 minutes late. I don't think we're done. 37,000. We should have kept going.
来自各行各业和不同背景的男女义工，从这座伟大城市的各地来到了